Hello, I'm James Clark. I'm an attorney here with the Legal Aid of West Virginia here in the Clarksburg office. I do want to let you know that even though I am an attorney, this video is for informational purposes only, and this does not represent legal advice at this time. But with that out of the way, I would like to begin to go through with you this petition for divorce. Now, if you're following along with the rest of the videos, this is video number 7 in our series, and we will be focusing on this form that says petition for divorce. Now, before we begin, I would like to say that as with the rest of the forms, you will want to fill out all of the information at the top. The county where you will be filing is blank. You'll want to make sure that you fill that in with whatever county you're filing in. Also, if you are the one that's filing this petition, then you are the petitioner. If your spouse, your husband or your wife filed the petition for divorce originally and you received it from them, then you will be the respondent and you will be filing an answer. Moving on to the petition for divorce, you want to make sure that you fill out all the information as accurately and as detailed as you can. You will begin by putting your name in the very first blank if you are the petitioner. If you are the respondent, then some of this information will differ from the form that you have, but all of this information will still be relevant to you. Okay. Now, the first thing that you want to do is you want to check the box immediately above question 1, requesting information on whether or not there is domestic violence proceeding currently in progress. You will check either yes or no. Now, if you do check yes, I would advise that you attach that proceeding to this document as well with your petition. It can be very important when it comes to your petition for divorce. Now, starting with question number 1, this question involves where you live. Now, we've covered jurisdiction earlier in the video, and this will essentially recover that. So, looking at question 1, you will check the box that is the most appropriate. If you, as the petitioner, have been a resident of West Virginia for more than 1 year prior to filing this case, then you will check that box. If the respondent has been a resident of West Virginia for more than 1 year, you will check that box. Now, if the two of you were married in West Virginia and at least one of you resides in West Virginia at this time, then you will check that box. I would also like to ensure that you know that you can check as many of those boxes as apply. You do not have to just check one box. Question 2 also goes into jurisdiction matters. The same county that you fill in at the top will be the same county that you write here in question 2. And then again, you will check all of the boxes that matter in this case and that relate to your case. If the two of you last lived in that county as spouses, you will check that box. If it was the last county where the respondent resided, you will check that one. However, if the respondent lives out of the state and the petitioner still resides in the county where you're filing, then that's the box that you will check. More often than not, only one of those will apply, but if multiple apply, then you can feel free to check multiple. Moving on to question 3, this simply asks where you as the petitioner currently resides. Respondents, again, I know we're focusing a lot on the petitioner, but some of this information should have already been filled in for you in the initial petition that you received from your spouse. Now, the question 4 is about the respondent. Where do they currently live? Now, as you can see, there is a box where if you do not know, if you as the petitioner do not know where the respondent resides, then you can check that box. And if it's out of state, then you can state the last known address that you have. This is for service purposes to make sure that all parties that are a party to this case are served with the correct documentation. Question 5 goes into where the two of you were married. You want to state the county, and you want to make sure that you are correct on the date as well. You'll probably be surprised by how many people either get the date wrong or forget to put the date, but it is important as you will need to provide your marriage license as well. Okay. Question number 6 also asks about the address where you last resided. This is another thing that you're going to want to make sure that you are as correct on as possible. And again, at the end of question 6, it discusses continuous and uninterrupted because this deals with separation. Now, in order for some things that we'll get to later as far as grounds for divorce, you will need to be have not lived together for a set amount of time that was continuous, meaning you didn't live together for 3 months, stop for 3 months, and then get back together for another month, and then proceed to stop living with each other. They want a full year or more where you haven't been living together. Now, question 7 is a few yes or no questions, and you will just answer them to the best of your ability. Now, for those of you that do not have children, you will be able to skip questions 8 through 15. However, those of you that have children, you will need to go through questions 8 through 15. Now, I'm going to go through these questions. However, again, if you don't have children, you may feel free to fast forward through the video. So in question 8, you will need to provide the names and the dates of birth for the children that are involved in this matter, meaning the children that were involved in the marriage. Now, I would also like to state at the bottom of the second page, below question 8, it asks if a child is currently expected and the estimated date of delivery. If there is no child that's expected, then you can leave that blank. However, if there is a child that is expected, you want to ensure that you fill out that question. It's a question that's commonly missed because of its placement on the form, and I want to make sure that you do not make that mistake. Now, question 9 asks where the children currently live. Now, if they currently live with you as the petitioner, you will check that. If they currently live with the respondent, that's the check mark you will place. However, in certain situations, if the children are with another family member or another person entirely, then you will check the third box next to another person and you will write out who it is that they're living with as well as their address. Now, question 10 involves the last 5 years for any of the children that we're discussing in this matter. Now, for these children, you will need to put their name and the addresses where they lived if it was different from where you and your spouse lived at any point in the last 5 years. For example, if you all lived at address A and the children lived with you the entire time for the last 5 years, then there is nothing that you need to put in the spot. However, if you all lived at address A and then 3 years ago the children, for whatever reason, it doesn't matter, but for whatever reason they needed to move to address B, then that address needs to go in as well as the actual child that was living there. Question 11 is about health insurance, and that of course is up to whatever your exact situation is. There is also a box to mark stating that the children do not currently have health insurance coverage. Now, question 12, question 13, question 14, and question 15 are all boxes that simply need to be checked. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to read every single one of those as carefully as you can and check yes or no. Now, question 16 is a vitally important question. It asks if the petitioner is in need of spousal support. Now, even if you think you may, just might, maybe need spousal support, you will want to check this box. The one thing that is vitally important to understand is that if you do not check question 16 in your request for spousal support, you are barring your ability to ever raise the issue of spousal support ever again. What that means is that if you check this box, it does not guarantee that you will get spousal support. It also does not prevent you from coming back later and stating that you do not want spousal support. But if you do not check this box, the issue of spousal support will never be addressed throughout the entirety of the divorce. Question 17 is about support for the minor children. Now, this is different from spousal support. This is child support and things of that nature that the respondent would need to pay in order to maintain the upbringing and the care that is provided to the children. So this is a completely different issue. Again, if you do not have children in this matter, then you can skip over that question. However, if you do, this is definitely something that you will want to check, even if you're unsure as to whether or not you want to do it. This is not something that is completely barred if you do not check this box, but this is something that still, if you are unsure, you want to make sure that you select. Question 18 concerns the things that were accumulated over the course of the marriage. Now, over the course of the marriage, most people acquire property. when you acquire property while you're married, this is what's referred to as marital property. During a divorce, this property will be divided between the two of you to make it as equal as possible, or what is called equitable distribution. Now, if you do not have any property, if you do not have any debts that you have acquired during the marriage, which is unlikely, but if that is the case, then you do not need to check that box. However, if in most cases you will need to check that box. There will also be pages later on in these videos that will break down where you can place that information and where you can fill that out. Number 19 refers to going back to a maiden name. Now, this obviously typically refers to individuals that have changed their names during the marriage. If you would like to go back to a maiden name or any other previous name, you will write that name in full down in the blank. Do not simply write out the last name that you would like to change to. Write out what your full name would be at that point. Number 20 has been filled out for you, stating that irreconcilable differences have arisen between the parties. This is the basic presumption for divorce in West Virginia, and that is why it is checked here. Now, there will be other grounds for divorce that we cover in questions 21, 22, and 23. However, I would like to let you know that irreconcilable differences is not enough on its own in order to qualify for a divorce unless both parties agree that irreconcilable differences exist. Question 21 is asking whether or not you have lived separate and apart without cohabitation for 1 year or more. Now, this relates back to a previous question in the same video where we want to know whether or not the two of you cohabitated for a certain period of time. Now, what this means is that for a continuous 12 months or more, the two of you were not living in the same location. The two of you did not spend the night at each other's homes. The two of you were not under the same roof. That will be another ground for divorce as it goes towards separation. Question 22 states that the respondent has inflicted cruel and inhuman treatment upon the petitioner. Now, this can come from abuse. This can come from several other things that may have been listed earlier in the petition or in different parts of the divorce packet. But if it applies here, you will want to check that mark. Now, be certain that this cruel and inhuman treatment rises above certain small minor skirmishes and things of that nature. If there's any violence that was perpetuated against you, if there was consistent name calling, if there was consistent degrading, those are the things that will apply. Question 23 covers other grounds for divorce. Now, question 23 is not a blanket term. This is not the place where you're able to throw everything against the wall and see what sticks. But what it is in a certain code section, which we will be able to go with you if you were to need more assistance from legal aid, there are certain other grounds for divorce that may qualify, such as adultery, to name one example. So if that were to matter in your case, you can check question 23 and you can fill in that blank. On the last page, I know it was a long journey to get here, but here we are. On this last page, it's going to ask you to grant whatever other relief that you would need. If you believe that there is something that was not covered in the rest of the petition that you believe needs to have happened, or if you believe that there is something very specific that you really want to hit upon because it is vitally important to you, then check the box and write out as much as you choose. If it fills up one line, that's fine. If you fill up all 5, that is perfectly okay. Now, what you'll then want to do after filling that out is to sign and date. However, for the verification page, do not sign or date any of that until you are in the presence of a notary public. If you have any other questions related to filing for this divorce, please don't hesitate to contact Legal Aid of West Virginia, and we will provide any support that we can. Thank you, and have a great day.